So I'll take one question from that was posed to Shaykh Muhammad bin Sālih al-Uthaimīn rahimahullah, the great scholar. He was asked the question that there is a man who abandoned fasting in the month of Ramadan in order to earn a livelihood for himself and a livelihood for the children under his care. So what is the ruling on such a person? So that was the excuse and the reason why he did not fast the month of Ramadan, because he was working and he wanted to dedicate himself to work, to earn a living for himself and for his children who are under his care. So Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said, this person or this man who abandoned fasting in the month of Ramadan with the excuse or with his with the hujjah that he had with him, or what he believes is a proof in his favor, that he is earning and earning a livelihood for himself and for his children. He said, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, if he did this due to his misunderstanding and his misinterpretation, thinking that it is allowed for him not to fast, just as it is allowed for the sick person not to fast. So therefore he says that it is allowed, or he thinks that it is allowed for the one who is not able to earn a living except by breaking his fast, so therefore he breaks his fast, then he is guilty of misunderstanding and false interpretation, because he cannot use this, the issue of the one who is sick, to also apply to him because he wants to go out and work. Na'am. So for him, if he is guilty of false interpretation because that's what he thought from his own thinking, so he had some misunderstanding, then upon him is to make up all of the days that he missed of his fast and make them all up. If he is alive, and if he is dead, then and he still has not made them up, then those days need to be made up by his next of kin. Naam. And if his next of kin cannot make them up, then they should at least feed a poor person for each day that he missed. Naam. However, if he abandoned the fasts without a misunderstanding, without any misunderstanding, he knew he was supposed to fast, but he said, I'm not going to fast because I'm going to work. Then, in the correct saying of the scholars, regarding any act of worship that is specified by a particular time, and if a person allows that time to lapse without an excuse for performing that act of worship, then that act of worship is not accepted from him. Meaning, he doesn't make up the fast. He's missed it deliberately, knowingly. He knew he had to fast, and he did not fast. So he said, then all such a person can do is perform plentiful righteous deeds and perform many optional fasts or many optional acts of worship, nawafil, and seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the proof for this is the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa radd. Whomsoever does a deed that is not based upon this religion of ours, then it shall be rejected. The hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. So he said, Shaykh al-Fawzān, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he said, so just as the act of worship, naam, so just as the act of worship that is restricted to a particular time, meaning an act of worship that is restricted to a particular time like Ramadan, then it cannot be done before its time. So any act of worship that has a specified time for it, then it cannot be done before its specified time. Likewise, therefore, it cannot be done after its specified time. So therefore, there is no making up for such a person. Upon him, his tawbah, istighfar, and performance of many righteous deeds. Na'am. As for the one who has the excuse of ignorance, or he was forgetful, then the Prophet ﷺ said regarding the forgetful one, whomsoever sleeps and did not pray, meaning that he slept through the prayer unwittingly, or that he forgot to pray, then he prays when he remembers. And there is no expiation for that person except that he prays. And this hadith has been collected by Imām Muslim. He said, however, alongside that, the issue of a person being ignorant, then that is an issue that requires a detailed explanation, and this is not the place for that. So, just to clarify that point, that a person is not allowed to miss the fast in the month of Ramadan because he says, I'm working, or I have a night shift, or I have, long hours in the day. He does not have an excuse to break his fast on the basis that the sick person can break his fast, or the traveler can break his fast, so I'm working so I can break my fast. There is no qiyas or comparison between the two affairs. And the one who breaks his fast deliberately, knowingly, then upon him is tawbah. Of course, there is a large body of scholars who take the position that the person who missed their fast sinfully, then they are to make up the fast. And Allahu A'lam, that seems to be the position of the majority of the scholars, that the one who sinfully missed his fast, then there are two things upon him. Number one, that he seeks Allah's forgiveness and makes tawbah. And secondly, that he makes up the days that he missed. Allahu A'lam. وجزاكم الله خيرا والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. And by the way, that also applies to the one who misses the prayer deliberately. The one, for example, who allows Fajr to lapse deliberately. He knows that Fajr is in, and he does not pray knowingly and deliberately. Then there is no making up of the Fajr after its time. Once it is lost, it is lost. Upon him is tawbah and istighfar, and to perform righteous deeds and never to return back to that sin. And in that, barakallahu feekum, is a deterrent from missing those obligations that have a time limitation upon them. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And that is the position of Ibn Uthaimīn, and it is the position of Ibn Hazm and a group of the scholars, and it is the correct position.